Yeah. Good morning. It's morning here in Pennsylvania. How are you doing? How are you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. I am off today, so I was trying to think of what I wanted to talk about, and I want to talk about 10 bands. I think there's actually 11 here, but who's counting? 10 bands that are from South America, south of America. So we're going to do some Mexico, we're going to do some Chile, we're going to do some Brazil, and I even put Spain in here. What? Yeah, they speak Spanish predominantly in Spain, so we're going to do just one Spain. There's one band from Spain. But anyway, yeah, let's get to it. I'm going to try not to make this too long and ramble on like a dipshit. I got a couple CDs here because they're old. And I didn't buy vinyl presses for everything because I am not rich. So, but some stuff I did pick up here. We're going to start early in Brazil. A couple familiar things, but this one may not be. It's pretty primitive stuff from 1986. I only found this band maybe a couple years ago, so I'm kind of a poser. But I got into this Cogumelo Records. And they put out, they did shows and stuff like that in Brazil for Sepultura, Volcano, Sex Thrash. I think Mutilation might be one of them. There's really cool shows on YouTube that are just nuts in Brazil in 86 and 87 and stuff. And this record company would help put those shows together. But anyway, Volcano is a very primitive thrash in the vein of Creator's kind of style thrash. I'd say this is a little bit more primitive than Creator is, but still, really aggressive. Vocals are very raspy, kind of like early Sepultura. I don't know if they're kind of seem like they're running parallel with Sepultura, but Sepultura may have been a little earlier. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, Volcano, primitive, very primitive sounding thrash from Brazil, which we might as well go here then. From Brazil, Sarcophago, we know that. It's just the poser pressing with the blue. I'm not that cool. I don't care that much. Again, Grey Haze, Cogumelo. You guys know Sarcophago. It's not much to talk about. I guess that was the singer of one point of Brazil went on and started this. You got people say your first blast beats and stuff. Is that upside down? Yeah. Your first blast beats, some of them, whatever, are on this. This is 87. So, not a whole lot of blast beats going on in the world back then. You got Repulsion up in Michigan, I guess Napalm over in the UK. I'm sure there's others, but this is really early stuff. Very, very primitive stuff. Of course, we had to mention, I did show this not in another video. I have all the early CDs too, but yeah. Sepultura was still from Brazil here. You guys know Sepultura, Beneath the Remains, one of the most important records to make it into America and help put Brazil on the map, man, to let us know that we had to go down there. There's some vicious shit happening down there, and Americans need to pay attention. Well, Sepultura is responsible for that. So I do have like Schizophrenia and stuff, and I did buy the re-records. Actually, it's funny. I ordered from Amazon. They had an SOD, March of the SOD, and I was going to order that because I only had a cassette of that from when I was a kid. And they sent the re-record of Morbid Visions as a mispick. Like they screwed up. And because that happens to me a lot with records with Amazon, and I'm going to get back onto the video in 1 second. But weirdly, I got that, and I was like, wow, that's not something I would have ordered maybe, but what the hell? And I played it, and I ate and beat it with Morbid Visions, the original, and it was an interesting enough listen. And I speak to Arthur Rizek every once in a great while. He's more like he's kind enough to message me back when I ask him questions, because we're from the same area originally, so we have common ground in that. But anyway, yeah, Sepultura, a big deal. The re-records are not bad, and like I said in these previous videos, I've seen the Cavalera brothers 3 times in 3 years, and that's why I dropped a couple bucks and got the re-records. I do like them. Although the originals are burned into here. All right, enough of that, Mike. Have you guys ever heard of Force of Darkness from Chile? Now, I have all their albums. I didn't grab them all, you know. But yeah, Force of Darkness is I think they're more rooted in really evil thrash than they are death metal. But very fast, aggressive, really good bass playing. It's a trio, and I watched them play live. There's a show from New York, St. Vitus, from like 22 or 23. They came to the States and played with Concrete Winds, and I didn't go, and I should have gone. But anyway, that's where I found Force of Darkness. They played with Concrete Winds in New York on the same show. And yeah, this is Twilight of Dark Illumination. You can't go wrong with any of their albums. They're available in the States. You can get them from. I know Hell's Headbangers has them in stock. That's where I got all 3. This one I think is still available. So it's really chaotic, thrashy death metal, but yeah, they really go involved with the lyrics, like a lot of lyrics for the songs. The enunciations are very fast. There's a little bit of I feel a little bit of a Rhea influence from the guy, in that he likes to do those high Angel of Death screams. Yeah, I don't know, but the bass playing's really good. The guitar player is really good. They do. I speak of guitar solos a lot, but his guitar solos add a lot to what is going on to the songs. There's some melody and really crafted, good musicianship here. There's no weak links. It's like a power trio. So, in my opinion, their albums require a little bit of rotation. They're not super catchy on the first listen. They play well as a whole album, and they're, I'd say, kind of like a little bit of Morbid Angel meets the early Altar of Madness, maybe, even Abominations of Desolation kind of era Morbid Angel, mixed with that early thrash. So anyway, yeah, Force of Darkness. If you haven't heard them, check them out. From Chile. A lot of buzz going around lately. I did a video maybe a year ago on this band. From Spain, Titan Blood. This is not a catchy first listen. This might, I don't know, man. This and Concrete Winds might be the most intense, like, bands. I've heard Dan Lilker say that about this. I mentioned that in another video. Dan Lilker from SOD and Nuclear Assault and Brutal Truth and Countless Exit 13. I was watching an interview with him, and he was asked what's the best death metal album, and he kind of rolled his eyes like I don't really know. And he goes, all I could say is Titan Blood is the most vicious thing that's ever been recorded. And I laughed, because it was such an out of left field thing. Just, Wilker's not a kid anymore, and to name drop Titan Blood, definitely. And he did it with, like, I don't know, just like, he wanted to mention it and just blow the dude off. I don't know. It's really funny. I don't know what the most greatest death metal album is, man, but I'll tell you, Titan Blood. Anyway, edit. we're going to go back to Chile again. I mentioned this band as well not too long ago. Mayhemic. Super vicious South American. I said it before, there's a little bit of Germany, early Germany in here. They probably took from Volcano. There's a little bit of that Volcano, that vicious, yeah, really awesome. I love the cadences, the way these guys, this is a topical album too, about the early Volcanoes. I say some of the names of some of these lyrics, but Eschatological Symphony is an instrumental. They, I feel like that might be their Inquisition Symphony or something like that from Sepultura. Like they have instrumentals on here, and it's really good. I don't really care for instrumentals much, but like I said, Sepultura can pull them off, Metallica can pull them off, but Mayhemic pulls it off on this one, and I kind of know where they're coming from because it's definitely, you know, it might have been a throwback to a nod to, you know, schizophrenia or something, but or it just happened innately and they just didn't want to write lyrics for it. I'm going to show a couple CDs here, quick. From Mexico. And I forgot I had this. I found it a little while ago. If I can get it out. The Chasm. I remember buying this at the time. This is Daniel Corchado. I hope I said your name right, sir. I always really liked this guy. And I got to see him when he was in Incantation, which is what sparked me to buy this. I loved it in Diabolical Conquest. A lot of people like that Incantation album. And that's Daniel Corchado on vocals. This is his band. This one came out in 97, I think. I'm pretty sure. I remember buying this at the Asbury Park, New Jersey Death Metal Fest in 99. One of my fond memories. One of the things, a few things I remember about that fest. I remember Mortician played, Incantation played, I Hate God played, Earth Crisis, the hardcore band played. I think I Hate God played. There was a lot. Anyway, The Chasm. This stuff is kind of, it's not straightforward death metal. It's not nearly like Incantation. There's like weird chords going on in here. There's almost like a... I say black metal only because there's full chords in some of the stuff here. So it leans it to what we have come accustomed to. If we hear full chords in songs, we're always like, oh, this is like black metal leaning. But still done in a death metal way. It's just cool. Opens up. It's different. It sounds different. Going back to Brazil. The Christian. This is the first album. I bought this when I saw them on tour, first time in the States at Coney Island High. Would have been 96 or 97. They were touring on this. This is 96. So, yeah, I think they were out with Angel Corpse, but that was my first time hearing these guys. They were opening, and they ripped your head off. I mean, obviously, this album is like, everything's on 10. It doesn't let up at all. And the drummer, real quick, he does these blast beats where he does eighth notes with the eighth note triplets with the kicks, so it's not a constant do 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 do. It's a strange kind of blast beat, only he does them, but it keeps it kind of pummeling in a weird way. He still plays drums like that. It adds a really chaotic kind of feeling to it. But yeah, super intense. Christian. Black Forest Domain. Yeah. Debut. There has been a repress of the Gloomy Reflections album, or EP, by this band, Cenotaph, from Mexico. Yes. But yeah, I found this one, and I just listened to it this morning. And this is an interesting album, much like the Chasm album, in that there's a little bit more musicality going on with this one. The Gloomy Reflections is, I know I have that somewhere, but I couldn't find it. There's a lot of weight. It's more of like almost like a finished Death Doom feel to that record, whereas this one, I don't know if people didn't like this one when it came out, but I liked it. This is 94, or at least was recorded in 94. It might not have came out until 95. But there's, I get more, actually, they jumped to kind of, when I was listening to it today, you got a lot of atheist from this. And it might be the production, but really good bass playing in this. And it's like predominant. It's kind of front and center. Maybe that's what made me feel like atheist. Now, it's less proggy than atheist, but kind of has the feel, and it might just be the way the drums and the bass really lock in on this album. And this is one of those, much like The Chasm, where we're still in this area where every band sounds different. You know what I mean? This sounds like a band. It's all real instruments and drums. There's no triggers on it or nothing, and it gives it its own. They sound like their own band. I don't know. It's very interesting. Very good stuff. We haven't gotten to that place where everything kind of sounds the same. Very identifiable record. You guys know what I'm talking about with the early death metal. You put on Entombed, and it's vastly different than Incantation. Vastly different than Morbid Angel. You know. Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, all those bands all sound completely different than one another. So anyway, yeah, again, back to Chile. This is the only record I have by this band that I have the LP. I weirdly bought a couple of digital albums off them because there wasn't LPs available a few years ago. They're very choppy. Unaussprechlichen Kulten. Yes, I said that. Now, I wondered why such a German-sounding name would be a band from Chile. They're Lovecraftian based. I think at least this, and I'm pretty sure most of their stuff is Lovecraft. So, Lovecraftian death metal from Chile. This stuff is extremely choppy, meaning jagged edges. We're blasting. We just completely change riffs. It's all over the place in that way. But very interesting listen. Choppy, real, more brutal. There's brutal parts in it. Brutal death metal too. But that's not its function. It's very dark, Lovecraft. Great packaging. This is their first album or EP. They, in my opinion, get much better as they go. But still, this is what I had picked out when I picked out the records. I wouldn't even know what I was buying with this one. I just knew I didn't have it. So, but very cool artwork, very cool everything with this band. So anyway, and I think I got one more. I mentioned this. I did a video on them. Invocation from Chile. This might be one of the catchiest things. I've mentioned this. I did a video a little while ago, and these guys and lady were kind enough to put my review of their album on their Facebook page and whatever else. So that was cool. But yeah, I highly recommend this band, Invocation. They do a kind of primitive style death metal. This album sounds, I just love the production of it. It's one of my favorite things about it. They kind of do a heavy rolling kind of death metal in that it's a slow tremolo picking kind of thing. The drummer I mentioned makes really cool choices. The bass is front and center, very powerful. Guitars, the tone knob sounds like it's down a bit, and we get some really thick, dense, really cool changes, and just there's heavy, really, really heavy halftime parts that are kind of unique in that they'll pick out individual notes, kind of down pick them, but open, single note, simple riffs, and they just come in like hammers. I don't know why. It's really, really cool approach, and it has a lot to do with their production and their choices. Excuse me, choices for their changes. I can't speak highly enough about that record. It's you know, not super fast and it's not super anything. It just has its own quality. So yeah, that's the video for today. I'm all over the place, but yeah, bands from South America. We're always talking about you know, America has our bands, the United States has our bands, and you know, Florida scene and the Pacific Northwest has been putting out a lot of stuff in the past 7-8 years or something like that, and you know, Scandinavia, Sweden, and all this stuff. But yeah, let's do a video on South America today. That's what we did. So some shine, man. Not that you need it from this dude, but some recommendations there. Check out some South American diabolus. South American death metal. Devil worship, right? Hail Satan, right? Alright, I gotta finish my coffee and yeah, get on with my day. Enjoy your day, and that's the video for today. And Shallow 666.